What's up, guys? Ivan Carranza here, and welcome to Bass Tone Tuesday. Today, we're gonna talk about using an effects processor such as the Quad Cortex by Neural DSP, the Kemper, the Helix, and even plugins compared to using a real amp with physical analog pedals. But before we talk about that, I want to share with you the results, or more like unveil the results of last week's video where I compared my Mesa Subway DI against the capture of that same DI using the Quad Cortex. So I'm gonna put the video here on the screen so you can check it out, and I'm curious if you really can hear a difference, because I would say the answers were like 50-50, maybe 55 to 45 going for, people getting right which one is the real Mesa and which one was the Quad Cortex. But I, of course, don't know if people really could hear the difference or they were just guessing. Either way, the results were fairly even, like I mentioned, 50-50 or maybe slightly towards guessing the real thing. But anyway, here is the result. Now, to me, they sound fairly close. It's hard to tell them apart. And in a live mix, that's definitely marginal. You probably wouldn't even notice any difference there. Now, once you get into recording territory, one could argue that, the analog real unit has more punch, more warmth, more depth, which is something that I can hear when I A/B them side by side and I play them. But if I didn't know, or if I didn't have the reference right in front of me to switch back and forth, I probably wouldn't guess which one is the real one, to be completely honest with you. And I would say it's definitely good enough to land on a recording, because it's not like it is a digital replica of, the real thing, and therefore it's bad or it sounds cheap or not realistic, because it does sound realistic. It's fairly close, like I've said many times. And I'm gonna do several captures of different pedals, and also I'm gonna try to do plugins. And I wanted to try to get my amp with my cabinet, but it is a bit too loud to capture at home. I'm gonna have to do that at the studio with some friends or something, because I think my neighbors would decapitate me if I do that in here, because it was very loud. But I made a capture of this bad boy. The video is about what are the benefits of having a processor compared to a real amp. Well, for once, having something like this unit allows you to have the same sound consistently throughout several shows. You make a preset, a patch, a scene, whatever it is called in your unit that you use, and it's gonna stay the same no matter where you are, unless you delete that said patch. But that allows you or gives you an extra level of consistency, because if you have a pedal, sometimes on night one, this knob might be here, and then you probably made a picture or put some tape here to really kind of tell where it is or where it goes. But there's always going to be some room of play there. And, the chances of having your pedal board and something bumping into it and changing settings is high, depending on what kind of gig you do. But having a fixed preset that stays the same no matter what is a big bonus. Now, the other benefit of having a processor or a unit like the Quad Cortex is that it has several amps and pedals that I personally don't have. There's an SVT Classic, there's two B15s, there's a high watt amp, there's a Marshall Super Lead or Super Bass, I don't know. There's Douglas pedals and preamps, compressors, and having to carry all that into a gig would mean that I would need a suitcase, putting everything in there, not speaking about the amps and cabinets that are available in here. So this gives you a lot of options, in a very friendly sized format. So that is a huge benefit. Another benefit of having an effects processor like this one, for example, is that it allows you to do some advanced signal routing and signal splitting. In this case, for example, if I just tap and hold here, I open up the splitter window, and I can grab a splitter and then choose a point along my signal change where I want to split my signal, maybe after my distortions, for example, and then mix the signal back in before my EQ. And then I can drag one of these distortion blocks to the second row, for example. And there I can put a guitar amp and keep on the top row a bass amp, and then send only the lows, for example, to the bass amp, and then send the mids and treble to the guitar amp, which creates a different sound than sending everything to a bass amp. Another thing that you can do, for example, is split your signal at a certain point and then have a delay or reverb or chorus or something, and kind of like create an effects loop so that those extra effects, the chorus, the delay, reverb, etc., don't affect the other thing that you have on your signal chain, and then come everything back up and mix the signal into one. And doing something like that with analog pedals, first of all, would require a bunch of cables. You need a signal splitter, something to make it come back up, and then you have to align the phase maybe. So it's kind of tricky to do, with physical analog gear. Here it's just a matter of clicking and holding, dragging to create a signal split, and you're good to go. You can even change the type of splitter that you want to use. You can use a crossover, an A-B split, or a balance split. So that is a very, very big advantage of using something like this. Now, I'm sure some of you who own very large pedal boards have found yourself tap dancing in the middle of a gig to turn this pedal on, turn this one on, turn this one off, to go into the chorus of a certain song when you're required to have different effects going on and off, which is fairly tricky to do, in real time and play and make sure you hit the right notes and everything. It's tough. I've seen it. I've done it myself. It's no fun. With something like this, you can create scenes, for example. They're called differently in different units. What a scene allows me to do, for example, is that I can have a certain type of effects on. For example, I have my distortion, my amp, my cabinet, and some EQ. And I have that saved on patch number A or scene number A. Now I want to retain the same thing, but maybe for the chorus, I want the amp to have a tiny bit more drive and I want to kick in a chorus, for example. Then I can save that to scene number B and click that, and automatically those changes are gonna happen without me having to step on several pedals at the same time. Once the chorus is over and I wanna go to my main sound, I can go to scene number A again and not worry about stepping on several things either. Now let's say the bridge calls for something very differently. I can add some more blocks and still pull up scene number C and change to that sound. And then when that part is over, one click and you're back to your main tone, which is to me a big lifesaver, time saver, and also guarantees that you are always gonna click on the right thing, because sometimes you miss, the pedals that you want to tap, and you have only a couple of seconds between all the tap dancing that you have to do. This, one click and you're good to go. And probably the last and maybe the most useful thing that this unit, for example, provides is that you can capture your own pedals and amps or DI boxes from different people and store them in here. So I can have the sound of a brutally loud SVT inside of this. I can have my amp, my real amp, which is my Mesa. I have done it and I have it here, for example. I've captured my Noble DI and it's here. I've captured my Tech 21 YYZ and it is here. So I only have to carry one unit and I have a bunch of different sounds from different units, which I probably wouldn't be able to carry at once to some place. Not to mention that I can also get the captures of other people who have done that as well on their own. I can go to my app, look for some captures from some people and see, okay, maybe he's got a Fender Bassman amp, which I want to try. I download it, put it in here, give it a test, see if I like it or not, and then, make a preset out of that or use it for some recordings or whatnot. So that feature, together with the level and the quality of the captures, how realistic they sound like, is to me a game changer for sure. Me only having to carry this thing to a gig compared to an amp and a cabinet and a bunch of pedals and cables, I probably want to carry only this thing. But not everything is sunshine and rainbows using an effects processor like this one or some digital pedals, because there are downsides. And in the next video, we're going to talk about why using an amp and a cabinet is pretty awesome and what are the negative sides of using a unit like this one. I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know in the comments if you've tested a unit such as the Quad Cortex, the Kemper, or a Line 6 Helix before. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.